Good afternoon to you. It's Brooke Wagner. I'm here in the Breaking News Center at KOLD. I want to keep this monitor behind me. This is actually the live feed from, oh, it's not movable. Sorry about that. There's a glare there, but I want you to be able to see what's going on behind me as these protests continue at the U.S. Capitol, which has been breached by thousands of protesters. So I want to take you bit by bit. Right now we're looking at what I believe is the Texas flag, and all of these protesters still swarming around. But in order to get some context for what is happening here, we're going to have to take you through the timeline of this day, which started out, we knew this was going to be a hectic and confusing and long day on Capitol Hill as our congressional members counted and certified, with the help of the vice president, the votes for the presidential election and for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as the states certified. There were questions leading up from many voters who believe there was some fraud, who believe that the election was stolen from President Trump. President Trump had hoped that his Vice President Mike Pence would go to bat for him on the floor today and would throw some kind of hitch into the certification of those election results per the states. Well, just before 2 o'clock, we started with Arizona's results. Those were the first ones to be contested, and objections were raised by Republicans on the floor. And right after that happened, we started to see police activity outside of the U.S. Capitol. Now, various sources are reporting this. We're getting our information not only from CBS News, but also from the Associated Press. New York Times and NPR are all reporting these basic same details. So the U.S. Capitol Police began to see this activity, which is similar to what you're seeing right now. Thousands of protesters arrived, and they are not being categorized yet as all being violent or all being domestic terrorists or all being simply protesters. There's no mass label that we can put on this group. We do know there were some families who were there. We know that there were some individuals there, some armed people. There at one point was a Trump flag hung on the front of the Capitol briefly. So let me get back to the timeline. I'm sorry, I'm digressing here. So Eastern time, just before 2 o'clock, the objection was raised, and shortly after that, the Capitol Police came into, this is an account from a House member on the floor, that the Capitol Police leader came in to the podium, which is highly unusual, and began to tell the Congress people to take out their gas masks, to hit the floor and lie under their chairs and desks. This was at a time when there was a lot of activity, not just on the floor, but in the gallery as well. It was a pretty full house, as you might imagine, for this important day. So that is where we start. Now we go on to a continuing of debate, and the top Republicans are starting to discuss that they overrule the results. They say the Senate's top Republican, that would of course be Mitch McConnell, saying if we overrule them, we will damage our republic forever, speaking about the voters, the people. All right, let's move on to the next 30 minutes or so. So 2:30, supporters of President Trump get into the Capitol. After 9/11, there were many safety protocols that began to be taken at the U.S. Capitol, as you know, as you might imagine. Many saw it as being impenetrable. And clearly today we saw that was not the case. There are many Capitol police officers who work very hard every day there. They were being pushed back through the doors, and eventually some of those protesters made it in. They were able to get into some of the offices of Congress people, including Nancy Pelosi's office. They had some live videos coming from Speaker Pelosi's office. And eventually, when the police determined, this is about 2:30 p.m., that they could safely get the lawmakers out of the House chambers and to an undisclosed location, but we're told by Congress people being interviewed on various news outlets that they are in a bomb shelter in one of the other House buildings being protected there. In fact, the last I heard was that they were just getting an announcement from Capitol Police. So let's go back to this. So the Capitol Police determined, yes, we can get you out of the chambers successfully. They did that. What I want to make clear at this juncture is that we have not heard of any Congress people being hurt. We have heard there is at least one shooting victim. There have been some skirmishes, some literal pushing back and forth with the Capitol Police and with the protesters. I believe someone is talking right now. Okay, we have Joe Biden talking right now. So I'm going to discontinue this right now so that we can listen to what President-elect Biden has to say, and I'll come back and continue this with a little bit of perspective.